Not too long ago, I had a client call me a couple months after we closed on their home, and I thought they were going to tell me how much they love their home, they love the neighborhood, and where they bought, but nope. Actually, they were telling me how much they hated their home and where they bought. And that's certainly not a fun call for me to get, but it's a situation that I want you to avoid. Everybody else wants to tell you all the good sides of what it's like living here in Fayetteville and Fort Bragg, but I'm not here to sell you on sunshine and rainbows. I'm going to tell you the actual truth and why you might want to avoid moving here altogether. So what are the 7 reasons why you should have moved to Fayetteville? Naturally, you want to know why you wouldn't want to move to the area, and I'll give you my personal take here in a second, but first, I just want to blast through some of the couple easy reasons that you've either probably heard of online already, or maybe you've seen it in some of my other videos. And that's number 1, the crime. That's where Vietnam comes from. Number 2, it's humid here because we're in the South. Number 3, there's a lot of pollen and bugs here. And number 4 is that it's a military town. So bam, we got the first 4 knocked out of the way. I won't spend a lot of time on them. I'll just run through them real briefly. Starting off with number 1, crime. So yeah, crime exists here. So if that's a big deal for you, then you probably shouldn't move here. Neighborhood Scouts reports that Fayetteville is only safer than 5% of the cities in the United States, but I will say this is actually improving. The Fayetteville Police Department reports that in 2024, there was a 10% reduction in crime compared to the same period in 2023. And I've always said that if you're too concerned about the crime here, then there's always neighboring cities for you to choose from, like Hope Mills and Rayford, Southern Pines, Spring Lake, which, by the way, I have a ton of videos breaking down each of those cities. Number 2 is the humidity. Look, you're in the South and North Carolina is right off the coast, okay? It's gonna be humid here. Now, it's not nearly as humid as Florida in my opinion, but some days it can be pretty unbearable. The temperature could be 90 degrees outside, but the humidity will bring the feels like temperature up to 100 degrees plus. And if you've never been around humid heat, it just constantly feels sticky and moist outside. Number 3 is that Fayetteville is a military town. In my opinion, Fayetteville is really only on the map for 2 main reasons, and that's J. Cole and Fort Bragg. I've lived in this area over 25 years, and there are a couple of things that remain pretty consistent, and that's military discounts, military surplus stores, barber shops, tattoo shops, and strip clubs. Everything a service member could need, right? Basically everything around here revolves around military, so your neighbors are probably going to be military, everybody going to community events are probably going to be military as well. So if that's something that you're trying to avoid, then it's going to be pretty hard to do that in Fayetteville. Reason number 4 is the pollen and bugs. I've talked about this in some of my other videos, but you will definitely know when it is springtime because your car, your front porch, and your back deck will be covered in pollen. Even if you park your car inside the garage, the pollen will still somehow find a way to get on top of your vehicle. So if you're really allergic to pollen, I would come prepared with some form of Benadryl or some allergy medication to help combat this. Now, as for the bugs are pretty common here as well. Many people in the area, they treat their home with pesticides to help repel some of the mosquitoes here. As well as termites. Termites are also a pretty big deal here according to groundworks.com. North Carolina is the number 10 state for states with the most risk to termite damage. And actually, this is so much of a problem here that it's now a standard for new construction homes to be installed with termite bait stations around the home. Boom, now that we've gotten the easy ones out of the way, the next few are really the ones that most people don't find out until after they've lived here for a little bit. Just a quick reminder, if you are moving to the area and you would like my assistance in helping finding a home, you can always book a call with me directly on my calendar with the link in the description. Reason number 5 is that Fayetteville is not a big city. Fayetteville is more so pockets scattered throughout the city, and where your neighborhood is located at really matters. It is pretty common here to have a very nice subdivision that's gated and all the things be right across the street from a trailer park. Fayetteville is also much smaller compared to bigger cities, or what I would consider to be a bigger city like Raleigh and Charlotte. When I picture a big city, I think of skyscraper buildings, traffic, expensive condos for sale, things like that. Downtown Fayetteville really has the closest experience to this, but it pales in comparison to those bigger cities. Don't get me wrong, Fayetteville is a growing city and there's a lot of people that live here, but it's more of a suburban feel more than anything. Reason number 6 is that people are not very approachable. Now, this is my personal opinion more than anything, but I just feel like it's not very easy to make friends here. This isn't really the place to go out by yourself and casually meet friends. It's more so like people go out with their entourage of friends and they stick pretty closely to that. However, in my experience, the best place to meet new people other than work would be, going to hobbies like pickleball. The pickleball is pretty big here. Golf is also a pretty big scene. There's also a bunch of run clubs and a bunch of other hobbies like that, but you can also attend farmers markets. Fort Bragg Ales hosts a farmers market here during the spring and summer months on Sundays, and Southern Pines also hosts 2 separate farmers markets as well. Last but not least is number 7, the Cross Creek Mall. The Cross Creek Mall is really the only mall in Fayetteville, and the other closest one is in Raleigh, and that's the Crabtree Mall. Cross Creek has really gone downhill since I was a kid here. I feel like it used to be, my parents could drop me off at the mall and I could have a time with my friends and hang out with people. The Cross Creek nowadays is getting a lot of negative attention, and it's because of stories that are getting put out there on TikTok. And so these stories have been about how females have been going there by themselves and they are getting followed around the mall. If you search up on TikTok Cross Creek Mall abductions, you'll see a bunch of examples of this, but the one in particular that I'm thinking about is from a user named @_Maddie McCarty. In her video, she explains how she's a newer military spouse to the area and that she went to the mall by herself. Basically, all of the stories, they basically start the same, and it's that they enter through the mall through the food court and they are greeted by gentlemen who open the door and they compliment you. She said she kindly thanked them and then she went on her way, but she said from that point forward, she felt like she was being followed. And at a certain point, she started checking her surroundings and she noticed those same gentlemen, they were keeping their distance from her, but they were also pretty noticeably following her around. It ended up getting to a point where it was pretty apparent and she just felt so uncomfortable, and luckily she found an MP in the food court and she kindly asked the MP, hey, I just don't feel safe right now. Is it okay if you follow me to my car? And the MP gladly did this, but she said even with the MP escorting her to her vehicle, that these people were still keeping their distance but watching her get in her car and drive off. Now, I mainly bring the story up because it's certainly something that I'm not comfortable with my wife doing. I do not allow her to go to the mall by herself, especially with our child. But this is mainly information that I think y'all deserve to know, especially my female watchers out there. And if you plan on going there by yourself, that this is something that you should be aware of. Now, here's the kicker. Everything that I've told you up to this point is completely useless if you do not go and get the other side of the story. Remember, when you're getting a good feel for the area, you got to take the bad with the good to form your full opinion on the area. And you can get that right here where I talk about the top reasons why I love living in Fayetteville. So click on that video right now. And remember, you can always book a call with me, Justin with eXp Realty, and the link for that will be in the description down below.